How's going, guys? As you guys can tell, we've got a new event announcement, and it really didn't take long before I saw this banner released, announced, and then I was like, oh, I should make a Shiju pull video, and I was like, should I even recommend this operator? And it took no time to come up with the answer, and that is, no, you probably shouldn't pull this operator. But it is OPNS, and I feel like a lot of us who read the story would feel like, oh, we should probably pull him because, Abyssal Hunter Squad and whatnot. But in the end, I've decided that no, this is not an operator that I would recommend, except for some rare cases, but we'll go into that a bit later. So let's talk about the operator and let's discuss why I would recommend majority of us just pass on this banner and save for future banners. So let's take a look at Opianus himself. So Opianus is a crusher, in which, if you don't remember what a crusher is, you can go back to my previous Holder banner. Like, that was basically, I summed up all the cons of this archetype. But there is still something with Opianus that kind of makes him a bit more viable if you're willing to, invest a lot of the resource that you would need to make him viable. Unlike Holder, who is like just way harder to justify. So, Opianus, he is a crusher. As you can see, he's a Abyssal Hunter. So first reason that you would want to pull him is because you've already upgraded all your Abyssal Hunters modules. So if you have Gladia module, you really only need Gladia module, but if you have other Abyssal Hunter buff operators, that can also go in, but you must have the Gladia module if you really want to make him like viable. And then if you really wanted to, you can also use operators like Shu and Aya Alter to keep him alive, but it's just less flexible because you got to have another operator directly next to him while Gladia just needs to be there, right? So you can like put them into separate lanes. So that's a flexibility issue. So that's the first reason. Just before we even talk about any of the stats, one way that you would want to pull him is if you're using Abyssal Hunter Squad. Now let's take a look at his talents. So as you can see, I didn't unlock his module because I'm waiting for his second module, which potentially could be a better Abyssal Hunter buff. So that's what I'm going to wait for. So most of us just wouldn't recommend the module to be going like at all for now. So his first talent is that whenever he takes damage, he will heal himself for up to 100 HP. And if his HP is below 50%, that increases to 160 HP per hit. So what this really does is it really counters those enemies that hit really quickly, like have really high DPS because of how fast they hit instead of how hard they hit. So this basically counters that. You can kind of see this as giving him 100 or 160 defense, but better, because defense is outright just decrease the attack, right? But if you're looking at arch damage, where a lot of enemies have like 500 to 1,000 arch damage each hit at best, 100 HP is basically like 10 resistance or 20 resistance. So that is actually way better than just giving him 100 or 160 defense. So that is actually quite a good talent for this archetype, because of how, 0 HP, 0 defense and 0 resistance. Now his second talent is that whenever he kills an enemy, his HP, max HP, and his attack will increase. His HP will increase by 120 and his attack will increase by 30. You can stack this up to 9 times, or if you're at pot 5, that goes to 10 stacks. Other Abyssal Hunter will get 50% of that effect, but I'm gonna be honest, this is not enough to justify pulling him. Obviously, if you're using Abyssal Hunter team, this is a pretty good module, but even then, if you're using an Abyssal Hunter team, that one extra stack is not really worth it for the potential, if you get what I mean. So that's all of his talents, and you can already see that this set of talents is mainly focused on fixing what is wrong with the archetype and just making them better at what they do. So it's actually a pretty good start, to be honest, and works really well with the Abyssal Hunter team. That's already a good start. Now let's take a look at his skill. So his first skill is that he will throw an anchor in front of him, and when the anchor hits like 3 tiles ahead of him, he will pull 2 enemies at that location towards him with a medium amount of force and deal up to 270% of his attack as physical damage. So this is actually a pull skill, which is very interesting for a guard, but interesting is at best what it does. It doesn't really do much. If you want to pull, you have other operators do something similar. You can just Gladiator skill 1. You wouldn't need OPNS for that. So his skill 2 is, as you can see, I have M3'd because this is actually one of the skills that you will be mostly using. So his skill 2 is that his first talent is increased by up to double, so 200 HP whenever he gets hit, and he will have +1 block. And because this archetype is can attack the amount of enemies that they can block, so that makes him a block 3 hit 3, kind of like Blaze skill 2. And his max HP will be increased by 60%. As you can see, he already has 6,500 base HP. If you plus another 60% onto that, it makes him really great. And his attack will be increased by 160%, which also scales really well with this archetype. And it is an infinite duration skill. So basically, this, you can see this as Blaze skill 2. But if you have a Gladiator with you, you wouldn't really need the other healer operator. Like, you know how when you use Blaze, you would sometimes use Zarya next to her, or you would just like assign her a medic. You wouldn't need that if you're using OPNS plus a Gladiator on the side. So that makes him really good for this AFK strat. And that's about all you need to know. A great skill if you have Gladiator module. It's that simple. But on the other hand, if you're already satisfied with your Blaze plus Zarya strategy, or if you already have Mountain or something like that, someone else that is already a lane holder, is it really worth it for you to invest in a brand new operator, level him up, skill 2 M3, level 90, and Gladiator raise to E2, and then module level 3, all that just for a better Blaze? That's up to you. Now, let's take a look at skill 3, which is actually the most interesting skill out of the entire set. So within his during his skill 3 duration, he would have plus 80% max HP, plus 260% attack, and he will immediately throw an anchor up to 5 tiles ahead of him. I can't really remember how many tiles it is. It might be 5 or 6 tiles, so really far away. And then if the tile hits a target, or it reaches the maximum length, maximum reach, it will stop the anchor, stun, and deal stun all enemies for 6 seconds and deal 160% of his attack as physical damage to all surrounding enemies. If where the anchor stopped is a deployable ground tile, OPNS will teleport, quote unquote, to that position. Now, this is a very interesting skill because this teleportation is actually a redeployment. So this actually bypasses a lot of the mechanics that enemies can have, and it will also replenish, let's say, your elemental defense bar, elemental HP bar. If you have that damage, you can just deploy and then retreat. Then the bar will be fully replenished. Or if you have bosses that can force retreat you, then you can use this skill to teleport away and then come back later on after the activation is over. So you can bypass a lot of mechanics, a lot of effects, a lot of stuff with this skill. And as you can see, it's got a 25-second duration and a 25-second charge time. What this means is you can use this really frequently if you want to. Now, even though this is the shiny good skill, right? Everyone feels like, oh, this is going to be so good. The downside of this skill is that you must understand the stage very well. You must understand the mechanic very well. So you might see, oh, so many content creators showing how flashy you can use Ophianus. But when it actually comes to you, us, the normies, normal guys who's not like trying to do flashy and we just want to, you know, get our event done, get our EX stages done, this is not really a skill for us. It's only for guys that are like me who wants to, you know, who knows this mechanics really well and we want to do something flashy, or it's for people like us that plays IS, because in IS you know all the maps, you know all the enemies, you should know all like wherever they're coming from, and then you can time the skill timing perfectly, you can dodge all the mechanics, and that is where Ophianus skill 3 really shines. So in that situation, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, if he teleports away and the tile that he was originally deployed on gets destroyed, something from let's say the Frost Nova Black Ice, and he teleports back, he will be undeployed. So that's one thing. So if the tile becomes undeployable, then when he tries to teleport back, he will just be undeployed. So that's like a really complicated mechanic. So if you really want to figure the whole set out, it's a lot to learn. So all of that combined, there's two types of people that should really pull Ophianus. First is you're already invested in the Abyssal Hunter and you like playing Abyssal Hunter squad. Sure, go for him. He will be a great addition. You got a great lane holder, and then, you know, Gladia plus Ophianus is already good enough. You can also add some more damage, and then potentially, we don't know how many months later, because CN is 6 months ahead of Global and we still don't have the second module yet, so we don't even know if there's going to be a second module. If you're gonna wait for all of that, sure, pull him. Or if you're like me, you're like, I'm IS D15 nerd, and also I play a lot of Guard Squad, because that is a that is required. You got to be a Guard Squad player, or else you would just stick with operators like, you know, Lenar or Silver Ash with module. You wouldn't really need Ophianus. So if you're like, I'm a Guard Squad player, then sure, Ophianus is also a great operator for you. For everyone else though, not recommended. So that's about it. I feel like if you're really thinking about pulling saving, this is a great time, because we've been through so many like incredibly strong operators banners in a row. I feel like it's about time for most of us to start saving up for the future, where we're gonna get like, you know, a few limited banners in a row, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I think this is a great time to save up. Tell me what your plan is down below if you're going to pull him just because, you know, put Husbando or Abyssal Hunter, or you're like me and you enjoy IS. Tell me in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the pull banner, for which I will definitely not be having bad luck just because I didn't recommend you guys to pull him. Definitely not. And I'll see you guys in that video on the 4th-ish or the 3rd, when the banner actually comes out. See ya.